Freedom. The word itself evokes images of soaring eagles, vast open skies, and the deep, unshackled breath of a soul unbound. Yet for many of us, freedom remains a distant dream, trapped behind invisible walls built by fear. Not the fear of chains or cages, but the fear of something far subtler and more pervasive. The fear of conflict. It's a strange paradox. We crave freedom yet recoil when freedom demands we face conflict. We want to live authentically, speak our truth, and pursue our desires. But when the path to that truth leads to confrontation, disagreement, or discomfort, many shrink back, preferring the hollow peace of avoidance. Friedrich Nietzsche, the fierce philosopher of will, power, and human becoming, cut straight through this paradox. He understood that true freedom does not exist without the courage to meet conflict head-on. In fact, Nietzsche boldly asserted that freedom and conflict are inseparable. Only by embracing conflict can we shed the illusions of safety and discover what it means to truly live as free individuals. Nietzsche once wrote, "The snake which cannot cast its skin has to die." As well, the minds which are prevented from changing their opinions, they cease to be mind. Conflict in its many forms is the skin we must shed. It challenges us, disrupts our comfort zones, and forces growth. It is the catalyst that allows the mind and spirit to transform and evolve beyond their previous limitations. Think about it. When have you grown most? Was it during moments of smooth sailing and quiet compliance? Or was it during storms when you had to stand your ground, question assumptions, or fight for what you believed in? Growth demands tension. It demands the discomfort of disagreement and the courage to face opposition. But fear often convinces us otherwise. Fear whispers, "Stay quiet, don't stir the waters. Avoid the fight." This fear is deeply human and understandable. Conflict can bring pain, rejection, and uncertainty. Yet it is precisely this fear that keeps us trapped in a cage of passivity and illusion. We mistake avoidance for peace, and in doing so we surrender freedom. To escape this trap, we must redefine conflict, not as a threat to freedom but as its essential companion. We must learn to see conflict as a mirror reflecting our true desires, boundaries, and values. It is through conflict that we claim our individuality and assert our will to live authentically. In this video, we will explore 6 essential ways that embracing conflict can free you from the chains of fear and limitation. Each point uncovers a unique aspect of growth, showing how conflict sharpens your character, expands your freedom, and ultimately leads to a richer, more authentic life. This is not about glorifying needless fighting or chaos. It is about recognizing that the path to freedom inevitably crosses through the terrain of conflict. Like nature's Übermensch who overcomes himself and society's limitations, you too can step beyond the fear and claim your freedom, be embracing conflict courageously. If you're ready to break free from fear and live boldly, don't skip any part of this video. Like, comment, share, and subscribe to the channel because this journey demands your full attention and commitment. And before we dive into the first point, I want you to drop this affirmation in the comments. I choose freedom by facing conflict. Number 1, conflict as a mirror to your true self. When conflict arises, most people experience discomfort and a rush of emotions, fear, anger, confusion. The natural instinct is to avoid it, to smooth things over to preserve the fragile calm. But what if I told you that conflict is actually a powerful mirror reflecting your true self? That through conflict, you can uncover your deepest values, boundaries, and desires. Is it believed that self-knowledge is the foundation of freedom? Without it, you remain a prisoner of external forces and internal illusions. He wrote, "Become who you are." But how can you truly become who you are without facing the conflicts that test your identity and force you to define your limits? Conflict strips away the superficial layers of politeness, social masks, and conditioned responses. It forces you to confront your real emotions and beliefs. When someone challenges you, disagrees with you, or pushes your buttons, it triggers a moment of truth. You are compelled to ask yourself, what do I really think? What do I really want? Where do I draw the line? For example, imagine a situation where a friend criticizes you unfairly. Your first reaction might be to avoid confrontation, shrug it off, or agree to keep the peace. But if you lean into that discomfort and ask yourself why the criticism hurts, you might discover hidden insecurities or unmet needs for respect. Conflict in this way becomes a doorway to self-awareness. This is deeply liberating. When you use conflict as a tool for self-discovery, you no longer fear it. Instead, you welcome it as an opportunity to understand yourself better. You become clear about your values and boundaries, which is the first step toward true freedom. The philosopher Carl Jung once said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, It will direct your life and you will call it fate. Conflict exposes the unconscious forces within us, our fears, biases, and unresolved wounds. Facing conflict consciously allows us to claim control over our lives rather than being passively driven by hidden emotions. Avoiding conflict means living in a fog, disconnected from your authentic self. Embracing conflict means stepping into the light of awareness and downing your identity. This is why nature saw conflict not as a curse but as a necessary fire that forges the self. So here's your first step toward freedom. The next time you encounter conflict, resist the urge to run or hide. Instead, ask yourself, what is this conflict revealing about who I am? Use it as a chance to clarify your values, to strengthen your boundaries, and to take ownership of your identity. This process is not easy. It requires courage to face uncomfortable truths, but with every conflict faced honestly, you build a stronger foundation of self-awareness, a foundation upon which real freedom can stand. Music number 2. Conflict is the catalyst for personal growth. Conflict is uncomfortable. It shakes the foundations of what we know, rattles our sense of security, and threatens our carefully constructed realities. Because of this, many avoid conflict at all costs, believing it to be destructive or harmful, but nature saw it differently. He understood conflict as the very catalyst for growth, transformation, and the evolution of the self. Imagine a sculptor chiseling a block of marble. Without resistance, the marble remains raw and shapeless. The chisel strikes, which are often harsh and demanding, carve out form, reveal beauty, and bring the sculpture to life. Conflict is the chisel for your inner world. It chips away old beliefs, complacency, and false comfort, revealing the strength and potential underneath. Nature famously declared, "That which does not kill us makes us stronger." This quote is not just a catchy phrase. It encapsulates a profound truth about human growth. Every conflict you face, whether internal or external, pushes you beyond your limits and compels you to adapt, learn, and become stronger. Consider how personal challenges, disagreements, or even harsh feedback often force you to reconsider your perspective. They encourage you to develop new skills, patience, assertiveness, empathy, resilience that you wouldn't have cultivated otherwise. Conflict stretches you beyond your comfort zone and invites you to become a more capable, nuanced individual. But growth through conflict is not automatic. It requires a mindset shift, seeing conflict not as a threat to your peace, but as an opportunity for self-improvement. This is a brave perspective because it means accepting that pain and struggle are part of the path to freedom. In this light, freedom isn't the absence of conflict. It is the ability to grow through conflict. It is the resilience to face discomfort, to learn from it, and to emerge stronger on the other side. Nature's philosophy pushes us to embrace this process, to willingly walk through the fire of conflict, knowing it tempers our spirit like steel. Psychologist Carl Rogers emphasized this in his theory of personal stating that real change occurs when we face conditions of worth and incongruence often felt most sharply during conflict. It is in those moments that we confront the gaps between who, where, and who we want to become. So the next time you feel conflict rising, don't run from it. Ask yourself, how can this challenge help me grow? What can I learn from this struggle? This shift will transform your experience of conflict from something to fear into something to embrace. I want you to drop this affirmation in the comments. I grow stronger by facing conflict. Number 3. Conflict builds courage and assertiveness. Courage is often romanticized as a grand heroic act, a battle in war, a dramatic rescue. But real courage lives in the everyday moments when you stand your ground, speak your truth, and face the discomfort of disagreement. NZ believed that courage is essential to freedom because it allows you to act according to your own will despite fear. When you avoid conflict, you deny yourself the chance to practice courage. You shrink from expressing your opinions, setting boundaries, or defending your values. This leads to a slow erosion of your self-respect and autonomy. Conflict is the training ground for courage. Each time you face a difficult conversation or a challenging situation, you exercise your ability to assert yourself. You learn that fear can be met and managed not as a sign to retreat, but as a signal to move forward. Nature's concept of the will to power is relevant here. It is not about dominating others, but about asserting your own existence and values with strength and confidence. This power comes from within and is cultivated through the willingness to engage with conflict rather than flee it. Think about a time you spoke up despite feeling afraid. The adrenaline, the shaking hands, the racing heart. These are signs of courage in action. With every act of assertiveness, you enforce your freedom because you claim your voice. Research in psychology supports this. People who develop assertiveness skills experience higher self-esteem, better relationships, and a greater sense of control over their lives. Conversely, passive behavior fueled by conflict avoidance often leads to resentment, frustration, and a loss of personal freedom. So, if you want to be free, cultivate courage through conflict. Start small if you must. Disagree respectfully. Say no when needed. Express your feelings honestly. Each act builds your muscle of bravery. I want you to drop this affirmation in the comments. I build courage by facing conflict. Number 4. Conflict teaches you to embrace uncertainty. One of the biggest reasons people fear conflict is the uncertainty it brings. When disagreements arise, the outcome feels unpredictable. You can't control how others will respond or what consequences may follow. This unknown territory triggers anxiety and makes many cling to safety and avoidance. Yet nature understood that embracing uncertainty is a fundamental part of freedom. He said you must have chaos within you to give birth to a dancing star. Conflict is a form of chaos, unpredictable, uncomfortable, and often frightening. But it's this very chaos that sparks creativity, transformation, and new possibilities. To be free, you must become comfortable with uncertainty. This means accepting that you can't control every outcome and that some conflict will be messy and unresolved for a time. It's in this space of not knowing that you discover flexibility, adaptability, and resilience. Think about relationships, whether personal or professional. Conflict inevitably introduces uncertainty about the future of the connection. If you cling to control and certainty, you may suppress conflict and build resentment. But if you allow conflict to be part of the dynamic, you open the door to deeper understanding and authentic connection. Philosopher Søren Kierkegaard spoke about the leap of faith. The idea that freedom requires taking bold, uncertain steps without guarantees. Conflict forces you to take these leaps regularly. Each uncomfortable conversation or disagreement is a moment of faith in yourself and the process. Psychologically, studies on tolerance for ambiguity show that those who accept uncertainty experience less stress and greater creativity. They are more open to change and less likely to be trapped by rigid thinking or fear-based decisions. By facing conflict without certainty, you expand your freedom. You free yourself from the illusion that life must be predictable to be safe. You learn to dance with chaos, creating space for growth and new paths. So next time you face conflict, remind yourself, this uncertainty is part of my freedom. Lean into the unknown and trust your ability to navigate it. I want you to drop this affirmation in the comments. Embrace uncertainty to be free. Number 5. Conflict strengthens your emotional resilience. Conflict often stirs strong emotions: anger, frustration, sadness, fear. It's natural to want to avoid situations that trigger these feelings, but nature's philosophy teaches us that emotional resilience is essential for freedom, and conflict is the crucible where this resilience is forged. When you face conflict, you're forced to confront and manage your emotions rather than suppress or ignore them. This process builds emotional strength, allowing you to respond thoughtfully rather than react impulsively. Over time, this ability to regulate emotions empowers you to act with clarity and purpose even under pressure. Nature's idea of the Übermensch or overman represents a person who's transcended their limits, including emotional ones. Part of this transcendence involves mastering one's inner world not by denying feelings but by understanding and integrating them. Psychological research supports this. Emotional resilience is linked to better mental health, stronger relationships, and greater life satisfaction. People who develop this resilience are less likely to be overwhelmed by conflict and more likely to see it as manageable and even transformative. For example, consider a disagreement at work. Instead of letting anger dictate your response, emotional resilience lets you pause, understand your feelings, and choose a constructive path. This not only preserves your dignity, but also models maturity and strength. Building emotional resilience through conflict also means accepting vulnerability. NZE said, "He who has a why to live can bear almost anyhow." Understanding your purpose and values helps you tolerate emotional discomfort because you see it as part of a meaningful journey toward freedom. So rather than fearing emotional turmoil during conflict, welcome it as an opportunity to strengthen your inner armor. Each emotional challenge met with awareness deepens your freedom by freeing you from being controlled by your feelings. Number 6. Conflict enables authentic relationships and true connection. Many avoid conflict because they fear losing relationships or causing pain. We've been taught that peace means avoiding disagreements and that conflict threatens bonds. But nature challenges this notion by showing that true freedom and connection require authenticity, and authenticity inevitably involves conflict. When you shy away from conflict, you deny others the chance to know your real self. You settle for superficial harmony rather than deep understanding. Real relationships are forged in the fire of honest expression, including disagreement and tension. Nature believed in the power of becoming who you are, and this includes expressing your genuine thoughts and feelings even when it risks friction. Authenticity is a form of freedom, and it cannot exist without the courage to face conflict. Consider a close friendship or romantic relationship where conflict is avoided. Over time, hidden resentments, unspoken needs, and false pretenses build up. This creates emotional distance and dissatisfaction. On the other hand, relationships that allow space for conflict encourage honesty, respect, and mutual growth. Psychologist Brené Brown emphasizes that vulnerability, the willingness to be seen fully, including our conflicts and imperfections, is the foundation of meaningful connection. Conflict provides the opportunity for vulnerability, where trust is tested and strengthened. Moreover, conflict helps define boundaries that keep relationships healthy. It allows you and others to negotiate needs and limits honestly, preventing resentment and misunderstandings. By embracing conflict as a path to authenticity, you transform your relationships from fragile illusions to genuine connections. This freedom to be yourself with others enriches your life and deepens your sense of belonging. So the next time conflict arises in your relationships, see it not as a threat but as an invitation to greater honesty and connection. If you want to be truly free, you must stop fearing conflict. Nature's philosophy reveals that conflict is not an enemy, but a vital force that shapes and strengthens us. It is through conflict that we discover our true selves, grow stronger, build courage, embrace uncertainty, deepen emotional resilience, and foster authentic relationships. Freedom does not mean living in a world without disagreement or tension. That kind of peace is often a fragile illusion that masks fear and avoidance. True freedom is the power to face conflict without running away, to meet it with awareness, courage, and openness. By shifting your perspective on conflict, you reclaim control over your life. Instead of being a victim of fear and avoidance, you become an active participant in your growth. You learn Tao's conflict as a tool for self-discovery and transformation. Remember nature's call to become who you are. This journey is not easy or comfortable, but it is profoundly rewarding. It requires embracing the chaos, uncertainty, and discomfort of conflict as necessary steps on the path to freedom. So starting today, stop running from conflict. Lean into the discomfort. Ask yourself what the conflict is teaching you about your values, boundaries, and emotions. Use it to grow stronger, bolder, and more authentic. Your freedom depends on it. If this message resonates with you, I want you to like this video, share it with someone who needs to hear it, and subscribe to the channel for more insights on living boldly and freely. Drop your thoughts and affirmations in the comments below. I read everyone. Remember to never fear conflict because as nature shows us, it is the gateway to freedom. I want you to drop this affirmation in the comments. I choose freedom by embracing conflict. Music.